I tried to escape the men paying to watch me, so they went for my mom instead. I sold my life for $5,000, and the man I sold it to is now in my mother's bedroom. That's not a metaphor. He's there right now, holding her wrist, and it's all my fault. It started last Sunday. I was nursing a lukewarm coffee, staring at the negative balance on my banking app, when the knock came. Not a normal knock. It was two distinct raps, perfectly spaced, like a metronome. I never answer the door for solicitors, but something about the precision of it pulled me from my chair. They stood on my porch like a pair of antique morticians on their day off. Two of them, impossibly thin, wearing identical white button-downs tucked into black shorts that were just a little too short. Knee-high socks. Black ties pulled tight enough to choke a normal man. Their skin was the color of old paper, stretched tight over their skulls, and their dark hair was slicked back with something that didn't catch the light. But the worst part was their smiles. They weren't friendly. They were anatomical, a perfect, practiced curve of lips showing too much gum. "Good morning," the one on the left said. His voice was soft, without texture. "We are conducting a residential survey. May we have a moment?" I should have slammed the door. I should have told them to get lost. But I was mesmerized by how utterly wrong they were. I found myself nodding. "What's it about?" "Humanity," the one on the right chirped, his smile widening a fraction. He held up a sleek, black tablet. "Just a few questions to establish a baseline. For example, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your current sense of existential dread?" I blinked. "My what?" "Existential dread," he repeated, patient. "The low-grade hum of anxiety regarding your purpose in the grand, indifferent cosmos." I stared at them. The man on the left, let's call him Alistair, tilted his head. "Or perhaps this one is more suitable. When was the last time you felt a genuine, unprompted moment of joy?" He looked at his partner, Orville. "Specify unprompted." Orville nodded sagely. "Yes. Not joy derived from external stimuli, like a film or a pleasant meal. Innate, self-generated joy." This was too much. "Look, guys, I'm not really in the mood for..." "A final question then," Alistair cut in, his smile never wavering. "If you were offered a significant financial sum to remedy your current fiscal distress, would the source of that sum matter to you?" My throat went dry. The red, negative number on my phone screen flashed in my mind. "What are you talking about?" Orville took a step forward. "We represent a research firm. We study, analyze, and document human experience on an intimate level. We believe you would be an ideal candidate for our latest project." I started to close the door, not interested. Alistair's foot, clad in a polished black dress shoe, shot into the gap. It made no sound. He wasn't aggressive, just firm. He slid a thin metal card through the crack. It was featureless except for a string of numbers. "Our offer remains open for 1 hour. We will be nearby." I snatched the card and slammed the door, my heart hammering against my ribs. I looked through the peephole, but they were gone, just vanished. I leaned against the door, trying to get my breathing under control, when my phone buzzed again. An email from my landlord. The subject line was just second notice. I walked to my living room window and pulled the blinds aside. There, across the street, standing perfectly still in the shade of an old oak tree, were Alistair and Orville, staring right at my window, smiling. My hands were shaking as I dialed the number from the card. There was no ringing, just a faint, ethereal hold music that sounded like wind chimes played backward. After a few seconds, a crisp, synthesized female voice spoke. "Thank you for your interest. Your file has been accessed. Please state your name and address for confirmation." My own voice felt distant as I gave her the information. "Confirmation received," the voice said flatly. "A representative team is en route. They will arrive momentarily." Before I could protest that they were already here, watching me, the metronome knock came again. 2 perfect, evenly spaced raps. I wrenched the door open, ready to yell. They stood there, expressions unchanged. "We'd like to come in now, Casimir," Alistair said. "My name." I never gave them my name. My anger deflated, replaced by a cold dread. How did you know my name? It was in your file, Orville said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. We only wish to explain the terms. Something told me this was a bad idea. A very, very bad idea. I made a split-second decision. Wait here. I closed the door, walked calmly to my nightstand, and retrieved the handgun my dad gave me years ago. I tucked it into the back of my jeans, the cold steel a small, pathetic comfort against my skin. Then I let them in. They sat on my couch with perfect posture, knees together, hands folded in their laps. I sat opposite them, every muscle coiled. Our organization is offering you $5,000, Alistair began, his voice a soothing, sterile monotone. In exchange, we will document your life for 1 week, 24 hours a day. Every action, every word, every moment of inaction. It will all be recorded for analysis. The air in the room grew thick. I felt my jaw tighten. $5,000. Enough to cover rent, the car payment, the credit card bill. Enough to breathe for a month. You want to pay me to, what? Watch me? Watch TV? Watch me sleep? The words tasted like ash. Precisely, Orville said, his eyes gleaming. The mundane is where the most valuable data resides. Sleep patterns, hygiene rituals, nutritional choices, moments of private reflection. Everything. He slid the tablet across the coffee table. A single page was displayed, a contract. My phone buzzed on the end table. A text from my mom, Lydia. Just checking in, sweetie. Call me when you have a minute. Love you. My stomach twisted into a knot. She'd sent me a little money last month. She couldn't afford it, but she did it anyway. I couldn't ask her for more. I couldn't bear the shame. I looked from my phone to the two smiling men, to the tablet on the table. $5,000. Fine, I heard myself say. Their smiles didn't change, but I felt a shift in the room, a subtle drop in pressure. Alistair gestured to the tablet. We encourage you to review the terms. I picked it up. The text was a mix of standard legal jargon and strange, indecipherable symbols that seemed to shimmer at the edge of my vision. I scrolled, feeling a wave of dizziness. It felt intentionally incomprehensible. I gave up and stabbed my finger on the signature line at the bottom, scrawling a shaky version of my name. The moment my finger lifted, they both stood in perfect unison. Excellent, Alistair said. Your assigned observer will be with you shortly. Your compensation has been transferred. They walked out, closing the door softly behind them. A second later, my phone pinged. Bank notification. A direct deposit of 5,000.U0 has been received. It was real. A wave of relief washed over me, so potent it almost made me sick. I'd done it. I'd actually done it. I let out a long, shuddering breath and decided to go lie down for a minute, just to process the sheer insanity of the last hour. I pushed open my bedroom door, and there was a man sitting in the corner chair. He was dressed exactly like Alistair and Orville, the white shirt, the black shorts, the knee-high socks. A clipboard rested on his lap, a pen poised in his hand. He looked up at me, offered a brief, neutral nod, and then his eyes flickered back down to his paper as he made a note. Hello, Casimir, he said, his voice as flat as a dial tone. Please proceed with your day. Act as though I am not present. I just stood there in the doorway, my brain short-circuiting. He just sat there, waiting, pen scratching against the paper. The sound was like insects chewing through drywall. I backed out of the room and closed the door. The next 24 hours were a waking nightmare. He followed me everywhere. When I made lunch, he stood in the kitchen doorway, scribbling. When I watched TV, he sat in the corner of the room, scribbling. I tried to use the bathroom, and he stood just outside the door, the scratching of his pen audible over the running water. He never spoke. He never ate. He never ate. He never slept. When my alarm went off for work the next morning, he was standing in the exact same spot beside my bed, where he'd been all night, his pen already moving. Something in me finally frayed. I couldn't do it. I couldn't take another minute of the scratching, the silent judgment, the constant presence. I decided I was leaving him behind. To hell with the contract. I grabbed my keys and wallet and bolted for the front door. He didn't try to stop me. He just tilted his head, a gesture of mild curiosity, and made a note on his clipboard. I scrambled into my car, turned the key, and peeled out of my parking spot, leaving a strip of rubber on the asphalt. I was grinning like a madman, a giddy, hysterical laugh bubbling up in my chest. I was free. The relief lasted until I got to my desk at work. My phone rang, and the screen showed my mom's picture. I smiled, feeling the tension drain from my shoulders. A normal conversation. Just what I needed. "Hey, Ma Casimir?" Her voice was a raw, terrified whisper. "There's a man in my house." The world tilted. "What? Mom, what are you talking about? Where are you?" "I'm in my bedroom. He was just here when I woke up." He's writing things down on a clipboard. "Cause," he said you breached the terms." "What does that mean?" "He said you failed to maintain protocol." Her words were a frantic, tumbling mess. The blood drained from my face. I could hear the faint, rhythmic scratching sound in the background over the phone line. Is he hurting you?" "No, he's just measuring." He measured the frame of my bed. He's cataloging the books on my shelf right now. He keeps saying deviation noted. Collateral observation initiated. Oh God, Cause, he's looking at me. He won't leave. He says it's because of you. My own breath was a ragged tear in my throat. I signed something, Ma. I didn't think. I'm coming over. I'm leaving right now." "He's putting down the clipboard," she gasped, her voice cracking. "He's walking toward me. Kaz, he's reaching for me." There was a scuffle, the sound of the phone clattering against a hard surface, and then a new voice came through the speaker. It was the observer. It was the same flat, clinical, dead tone, but now it was laced with something cold and sharp. "Subject: Lydia's stress indicators are exceeding baseline," the voice said calmly. "Protocol dictates escalation. Your presence is required to de-escalate, Casimir, immediately."